Welcome back to more Euro Fantasy content. This will be my first draft for Matchday 4. As we enter the knockout stages, we get unlimited transfers and a 5 million increase in budget, and a few other rules change, such as the max number of players you can pick from a single country. Now you can pick up to 4 players, and remember, as we progress to each rounds of the knockouts, so in the quarterfinals you get 3 free transfers, for the semi-finals you get 4, and for the final you get 5 free transfers. So bear that in mind, and ultimately you want to go for players that you think will go far, as well as get points in the process. But if you've got that wild card in your back pocket, then you are able to go for some bigger differentials and pick players from teams that you might not expect to progress very far, but those players that you pick could get a lot of points in the process, and that could really help you to climb the ranks, despite the fact that a lot of the high scores and easier teams were obviously in the group stages between match days 1 to 3. It's worth mentioning that this video and podcast is recorded on Wednesday afternoon before any of the games are taking place for Belgium and Portugal, and depending on who finishes top of Group E, Belgium's group, that completes the image and also the landscape of the knockout stages and the matchups we're going to get. And in the next section, I'm going to show you what we could be looking at in terms of matchups and also discussing the teams to really target. And after that, I'll be building my 15-man squad from the goalkeepers all the way to the top. Your support throughout this Euros tournament and the summer has been incredible. We're getting closer and closer towards 25,000 subscribers. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and also hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. And let's get this video to the 200 likes on YouTube if you enjoy the content or find it useful. Some of the potential matchups include Spain, who are the only team to have won every single game so far. They face Slovakia, or potentially Romania, whoever finishes third in Group E, and it looks very likely there will be Slovakia. But of course, after the games are done on Wednesday, we'll have a complete picture of some of these matchups. There's a few details, of course, to iron out, but Germany are confirmed to face Denmark, and that will be on the 29th of June, just after the deadline stream. And Denmark finished second ahead of Slovenia because of their disciplinary record, and I think it ultimately came down to the Slovenian coach being booked, and that's what ultimately decided Denmark finishing second over them. So that's a bit weird to say the least, but that was the lowest scoring group in history with only 7 goals across 6 matches. Then you've got Portugal against Hungary potentially, and Portugal have already secured top spot, so that is confirmed already. Then you've got France, who finished second to Austria, and they would likely face Romania, so that's going to be another interesting matchup. France would be the heavy favourites, but they would be facing Portugal potentially in the quarterfinals, and if they go through them, it's either the host Germany, which is going to be the most likely, or Spain. So that's a very tough side of the draw. And then you go to the right-hand side of the draw with Belgium potentially facing Slovenia, should they finish top of Group E. You've got Austria against Turkey, England versus the Netherlands, and Switzerland versus Italy. And I will give you the complete picture once the Wednesday matches are done and groups E and F are finalized, because there could be a few small changes here which ultimately determine the final path to the Euros final. And I think the countries to really target here would be Spain, Germany, Portugal, France, and from the right-hand side of the bracket, I'd be looking at Belgium, Austria, and England. I'm not too interested in the others, but if you have that wild card in your back pocket, you can still go for some loan picks or go for some differentials from teams like, for example, Turkey. You can go for Arda Güler. From the Netherlands, they still have some decent options like Van Dijk, Xavi Simons, and Verbruggen. And you can go from some Switzerland or Italy players who might not generally appeal to everyone in terms of Euro fantasy assets, but they've got some decent ball recoverers like Bastoni. You've got Jorginho as an enabler, and you've also got DeMarco, who can still offer a lot of attacking potential and ball recoveries as well. So there's always some hidden gems in every single team. Szoboszlai for Hungary, for example, even if Portugal would be very likely to progress to the quarterfinals. But ultimately, we still have some big games left to go, and in the knockouts, I think there could be some great matches and some big surprises are imminent. It's just a question of which teams can really upset some of the giants of this competition. I'm hoping for more quality, also more excitement and goals. I think there has been a lack of quality in a lot of matches so far, but it's still been a good tournament up until this point. But I think it can go a step further, and I'm hoping for more games like Netherlands versus Austria and less of what we've seen from England's group. All Euro Fantasy managers from the group stages will experience a 5 million increase in their budget, so you'll have 105 million to spend on your 50-man squad. Now, price changes haven't happened yet, and in the rules section, it did say that they'd start to rise and fall after the Matchday 3 deadline. So maybe at some point before Matchday 4 begins, we'll start to see some price activity. So it might be worth making some transfers right now to gain some team value, but that's all speculative. Normally in Euro Fantasy, the World Cups, and also UCL Fantasy, whenever it says it in the rules section, that's when they make the changes. And I thought it would happen as soon as the Matchday 3 deadline passed, but that hasn't been the case. Now, going into the knockouts as well, you do get now an extra player from each country. So you can go for 4 players from England, for example. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but fair enough. They still got a very good side of the draw all the way to the final should they win their games and finally play some good football. And other things that are worth mentioning are the chips. So you can't use the wildcard or limitless in Matchday 4, but if you've got both chips available, my big recommendation would be use the limitless in Matchday 5 and the wildcard in Matchday 6. If you've only got one of those chips, I'd also recommend using it in Matchday 5, but it's ultimately team dependent and your situation might be different to mine and many others watching this video or listening to this podcast. Now, all the points and all the rank from the left-hand side on YouTube that you can see on screen, so a rank of 26k at the moment, that's before the Belgium and Portugal games have kicked off. You'll see my final points and rank in the team selection video, which is coming very soon. Unai Simon was rested in Matchday 3 as Spain made wholesale changes, and David Raya came in and played very well, making some big saves against Albania to keep that clean sheet and protect Spain's perfect group stage record with 3 wins out of 3, 5 goals scored and 0 conceded. So I think going for 2, 3, possibly even 4 Spanish players looks really enticing, particularly for the round of 16 where they'll likely play Slovakia. But the problem is, should they go through, it's either Denmark or Germany, which isn't easy. And then in the semi-finals, should Spain go to that stage, they'd be facing the likes of Portugal or France. That would be the most likely scenario. So that side of the draw does have some big conundrums. And I think those that save the wild card will actually be feeling very positive now about going for the best assets in the round of 16 with unlimited transfers and then wildcarding out some of the big nations who are eliminated in either the quarterfinals or the semi-finals in Matchday 6. But I'm going for Unai Simon. I still think he'll be the #1 goalkeeper, but some Spanish national team fans think that David Raya should start over Unai Simon, and I personally think he's the better goalkeeper. There's not much between both of them, but Unai Simon, what he does have is the penalty save potential, and he generally has been the #1 goalkeeper for Spain in the last couple of years. But my second option hasn't played in Matchday 3 yet at the time of this recording, and that's Diogo Costa, who's expected to start against Georgia. Only him and Ronaldo are expected to keep their place, whilst the rest will be rotated against Georgia. And I just think Portugal are one of the favourites of this competition. They had a bit of a shaky start against Czech Republic, but scored that late winner, and they were very comprehensive and also very assured against Turkey in Matchday 2. We could see something similar against Georgia, and if they can do that with some fringe players getting some minutes and confidence, then I think Portugal could really go all the way, just like they did back in 2016. So it might seem a bit expensive to go for a 5.5 million goalkeeper and also Diogo Costa, who costs 5 million, but overall, with that 5 million increase in budget, I think it is excusable, and these 2 goalkeepers give you a great chance of clean sheets and also some save points. I went for Grimaldo in Matchday 3 and he delivered 8 points with the ball recoveries and the clean sheet. He had a great season for Bayer Leverkusen, but it's Marc Cucurella who is the first choice left back for Spain. He only cost 4.5 million and he made 14 ball recoveries against Italy in Matchday 2. So for a combination of ball recoveries, clean sheets and maybe the odd assist, I think he could be one of the best defenders in the game. The main issue I have with him is the fact that that side of the bracket for Spain is very difficult. That's the biggest problem I have, and it'll probably be the case for a lot of the players you see. By the way, for those that are kind of orange flagged, that's because they have played in Matchday 3 already at the time of this recording, so be sure to ignore that. And of course, I will be covering my updated draft and the team selection, and also the plan is to do the deadline stream on Saturday, and I'll keep you updated on that as well. But the second defender is another ball recovery machine, and if anything, I think he's even better in this regard compared to Marc Cucurella, and that's Marc Guehi, who costs 4.5 million, and for England I think is by far the best defender they have to offer. You've got Trippier at 6 million and you've got Walker and Stones, who are just fine, but Guehi being 4.5 million with the ball recovery potential I think puts him above all the others, and the only other defensive courage for England that really compares to him in terms of value would be Jordan Pickford in goal, but I'd much rather go for the ball recovery machine in Marc Guehi. Now the third defender I'm going for is another budget defender, and I'm kind of saving all the money for the midfielders and forwards, as you'll see very soon, but that could certainly change with future drafts. I'm going for Mittelstadt, at just 4 million, and he's nailed down that spot as the left back. But David Raum combined with Füllkrug for that late equaliser against Switzerland, and there are some Germans who want the likes of David Raum to start, but more importantly Füllkrug over Kai Havertz. So watch this space, that could definitely be something to monitor, but I still think Mittelstadt is the first choice left back for Germany. And while ball recoveries might not be his forte, I still think Mittelstadt can get some assists and some clean sheets in the process. Denmark won't be easy in the round of 16, and I've never seen Germany as a solid defensive team, even under Nagelsmann and their great start to this Euros tournament. And I think Switzerland caused them so many problems and could have scored even more goals in matchday 3. But next up is Wout Faes, who gets a lot of ball recoveries. I think Belgium can get some clean sheets, particularly in the round of 16, should they face Slovenia, and that all depends on Belgium finishing top of their group. Otherwise, it would be a different side of the draw, of course, and I'll cover that in the future videos and podcasts as well. He only costs 4 million. He's a great enabler and by far the best option to cover Belgium defensively. I still like Casteels, and Castagna is just fine. Yang Vertonghen is only 4.5 million as well, but Wout Faes being 4 million makes him a step above in terms of value, and I think he's a really good option at the heart of that defense. I'm also going to go for a mid-price defender this time in Jules Koundé, who costs 5 million. He gets a lot of ball recoveries. Clean sheets are possible with France with 2 out of 3 games, but they've really been underwhelming in the offensive areas. They're creating chances, but they aren't scoring enough. They had that win over Austria through an own goal. They scored a penalty against Poland, but apart from that, they haven't been scoring. No goals whatsoever from open play. That will surely change in the knockouts, but they need to fix up very fast. It might be Romania in the round of 16, but then it's likely going to be Portugal and then the likes of Spain or Germany in the semi-finals should they get to that stage. So it's not looking great for France at the moment, but it's all about building into the tournament, gaining that confidence and momentum. And I still think France are quite composed and they're just finding their feet in this tournament, and ultimately they'll start to deliver, particularly in the attacking areas. But regardless, I think Koundé at 5 million offers great value. A clean sheet is very likely in the round of 16 based on their projected opponents, and you've got a nice balance here covering Spain, England, Germany, Belgium and France in the defensive line, and you've also got a Spanish goalkeeper in Unai Simon and Diogo Costa to cover Portugal. Whenever I discuss Austria assets, Baumgartner is always the one I highlight, but Sabitzer is nailed on as you can get. Baumgartner unfortunately was benched in matchday 3. He got an assist and made an impact off the bench, but Sabitzer scored in that game and he started, and that's why I would put him just a little bit above Baumgartner if I'm picking an Austria midfielder. I think they both make for great options. I'd expect both of them to start in matchday 4, but that isn't a guarantee. Not with Baumgartner anyway, but it will be with Sabitzer, who had a good season for Borussia Dortmund, and for Austria he is solid, dependable, and he offers fantastic value at just 6.5 million. That enables you to go for some big hitters in the midfield and forward line, and overall this 50-man squad has a balance. You're covering a lot of top teams, and Austria seem to be the dark horses of this tournament. Hopefully they can keep on pushing, and if they face Turkey or Czech Republic in the round of 16, I'd definitely put them as the favourites to win that game, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they reach the semi-final or the final at this point. They really are looking very impressive. They were quite unfortunate in matchday 1 against France, and Sabitzer is definitely an enticing option in the midfield. Next up, I'm going to go for a German midfield double-up, which I'm still quite bullish about despite the disappointments in matchday 3, and Musiala has been one of the standout players in this tournament. A bit quiet against Switzerland, but he was fantastic against Hungary and particularly against Scotland. If you give him spaces on the half turns, he can destroy you. He's one of the best dribblers in the world, if not the very best at this moment in time. He is a joy to watch, and I definitely go for him over Wirtz if you can, but of course there is a 1 million difference in price, and I'm actually not going to go for Wirtz at the moment, and instead I'm going for the number 1 penalty taker for Germany, particularly if Kai Havertz isn't on the pitch, and that's going to be Ilkay Gundogan. I think these two are the best German assets alongside Mittelstadt. You can go for 4, remember, so if you wanted to go for a midfield triple up, then it's completely up to you, but I think that's a step too far, and I'd go for Gundogan and Musiala and not go for Wirtz at the moment, but it's a very close battle between the 3. I'd rank Musiala first, Gundogan second, and Florian Wirtz in third. Now there are 2 midfielder slots left, and I'm going for 2 big hitters. No Jude Bellingham though, no Saka or Foden. I still think they have a lot of potential and they can do very well in the round of 16. But things haven't clicked yet for England, and you can say the same thing about other top nations such as France, and it's all about finding your groove in the knockout stages of this tournament. But one player who scored in Matchday 2, and I've always said is one of the very best options in Euro Fantasy, particularly in the midfield, is going to be Bruno Fernandes at 9 million. He's quite a template pick with almost 30% ownership. That's surely going to increase as we approach the round of 16. He'll likely be benched in Matchday 3, and of course we'll find out by the time this video is published for all viewers. But Bruno Fernandes is still one of the top options for Portugal, particularly in the attacking areas, and I definitely recommend him over most in this midfield position. But the next midfielder is the joint most expensive in the game at 9.5 million, and I'm going for Kevin De Bruyne over Jude Bellingham. I just think covering different teams offensively is the way to go, and Kevin De Bruyne can score from outside the box, which gives you an extra point on top of scoring a goal as a midfielder, and he's got the player of the match potential. The assist threat is always crazy, and he's got a nice combination going with Romelu Lukaku and sometimes Trossard when he's on his game as well. So I think Kevin De Bruyne is a fantastic option at 9.5 million. The round of 16 game will likely be very appealing should Belgium top their group, and ultimately I'd want to go for that balance in the attack if you can help it. Some double ups are obviously viable, and I've got 2 of them in the end after I complete this 15-man squad with the 3 forwards. That's going to be next up, and I'm going for one player from an underperforming team. He has scored already, but things need to improve going into the knockouts. You might be thinking, what are you doing going for Harry Kane, who only scored once in the group stages, and England only scored 2 goals overall across 3 matches? But England have been slow starters in recent international tournaments like the previous World Cup and also the last Euros tournament where they only scored a couple of goals as well. But going into the knockouts, something clicked a little bit, and in the round of 16, the quarterfinals, they started scoring a lot of goals, creating chances, and I think something similar could happen here. And the Netherlands, despite having so many great defenders on paper like De Vrij, De Ligt, Van Dijk, Nathan Ake, they still leak so many chances, and that midfield protection just really isn't there, and that absence of De Jong could be massive in this tournament, even Koopmeiners, who is a solid midfielder for the Dutch. So I think England can definitely step up, and I would favour them to beat the Netherlands in that round of 16 matchup, but you just never know with England. They sometimes just disappoint time after time again, but they've got some top quality players. Harry Kane is one of them. He's on penalties, and he's still one of the best forwards in Euro Fantasy for me. Next up is a player who hasn't really delivered in the Euros over the years, but he scored his first goal in Matchday 3 in this tournament, and that's Kylian Mbappe, and he'll be hoping to add to that tally going into the round of 16 with a favourable game on paper for France, but finishing second could be costly in the long term with their projected quarterfinals and semi-finals compared to if they were on England's side of the bracket as another example. But Mbappe has provided an assist for that Austria own goal in Matchday 1. He obviously missed Matchday 2 due to that injury and that broken nose, but he came back, wore that mask, scored a penalty, missed a few big chances in the process. I'm hoping he can get his shooting boots on for the round of 16 and beyond, because Mbappe can be that game changer. France haven't really clicked yet in the attacking areas, but for me they have created chances. They've just been a bit poor in terms of decision making. That final pass and also the final shot just hasn't been there, but once that all clicks, I think France have the best squad in this tournament. Next up though is one of the best players of all time, one of the greatest goal scorers of his generation, and to be fair, of any era. And of course I'm on about Cristiano Ronaldo, who will likely start in Matchday 3. I think he could get that confidence up with a few goals, and if he can do that, he will be a different animal going into the knockout stages, and he could be that difference maker once again for Portugal. I really like this balance, this 50-man squad. It says I'm 5 million over budget, but that's for a completely new player to the game. If you make a team right now, for those that have been playing from the group stages, you'll be able to afford this, and we'll see when price changes happen. Of course, I'll keep you updated in future videos and podcasts. But let's now talk about the captaincy with provisional dates, of course, because certain results from groups E and F could change things in terms of the matchups for the round of 16. But ultimately, this section will be very important in determining the best options from each country in terms of the captaincy. On Saturday, the 29th of June in the UK, we've got 2 confirmed fixtures in Germany versus Denmark and Italy facing Switzerland. And from that day, my favourite option would be Musiala, and other good options include Florian Wirtz and Ilkay Gundogan, and I'd probably put Gundogan in second. You've also got Kai Havertz or Füllkrug, whoever starts there would be next in line. Mittelstadt is also a decent option, but my favourite would be Musiala to keep things simple. Then on the 30th of June, you would have Spain facing the likes of Slovakia potentially, and also England, who will likely face the Netherlands. And I think from that day, I would probably go for a Spanish defender or Harry Kane up front. And at the moment, I'm going to lean towards Harry Kane, which might be absolutely stupid. And in Euros fantasy, just like you get with UCL fantasy, defenders can be captained because of ball recoveries. They can easily get 7, 8, possibly even 9 points, as we've seen with Mark Gay already in this tournament. But I'd probably go for Harry Kane on the 30th of June. Then going on to the 1st of July, Portugal are likely going to face Hungary. So Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo would be two standouts. I don't even mind Joao Cancelo, to be honest, but I think Ronaldo would be my top pick from that particular game. Then you've got France potentially facing Romania. So Kylian Mbappe will be a standout option. Theo Hernandez and Saliba, even Jules Koundé will be fine captaincy alternatives. But on the 1st of July, it looks like Ronaldo or Mbappe will be the two standout captaincy options on that day. Then on the 2nd of July, you could see Belgium, should they win Group E, facing the likes of Slovenia. And I think if that's the case, Kevin De Bruyne or Lukaku look like really enticing options, to say the least. And we could also see Austria facing the runners-up of Group F, which could be Turkey or Czech Republic. So Sabitzer is still a decent option, or Baumgartner. But on the 2nd of July, I wouldn't really complicate things too much, and I'd focus on Belgium with Kevin De Bruyne being my number one pick as well. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to the 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for my Patreon, the Championships Discord server, Euro Fantasy League, Draft Town, and also Spotify. Follow me on that platform and leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to supporting my channel. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 3, 4, and the rest of the tournament, and I'll see you next time.